as we welcome in former SU player and NBA veteran Etan Thomas on the phone this morning. Etan, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing over there?
Good. Was there more volleyball this past weekend?
Yes. Have to give a shout out to my daughter's team, Maryland Juniors. They went undefeated at Ocean City last weekend. It was a great tournament. All the girls played great. So big up to them.
Hey, cool. And then what's the next tournament, or what's the next action for the volleyball team?
So the next tournament is this weekend. It's really big. It's regionals. So all the teams from all around will be competing to get a bid to nationals. So it's going to be really highly competitive. So
wow. And where, if they were able to get that far, where are the nationals?
So there's one in Orlando and there's one in Dallas. Nationals in two different places. Yeah.
Wow. Well, obviously at a high level, and congrats. Good for them.
No, thanks. Appreciate it.
Well, here we are. It's yesterday's Selection Sunday. March Madness is on. The brackets are being looked at and debated and broken down. And do you watch that live, Etan? I know you're busy doing a bunch of things, but obviously you've had time to at least take a look at it. Anything stand out for you?
Yeah, I gotta say, I was a little surprised at North Carolina. I was. I did not think that they had the wins to be able to get in. You know, the quad wins that they didn't. You know, I was a little bit surprised at that. You know, they had 11 opportunities to play teams that are in the tournament, and you know they won one. You know, so when you have that, and now the strength of schedule, you know, they didn't duck from anybody. You know, I will say that but they did not win. So when you have teams like West Virginia and Indiana, you know, it's a little tough. Like I gotta say, that was a surprise. If I was those teams, I would probably be a little bit, you know, questioning why my team didn't get in and North Carolina did.
How much of it, Etan, as we were talking about it a little bit earlier, but when teams like North Carolina or you know, a Kentucky or, you know, some of the blue blood type programs are on the bubble, so to speak, do they get that extra nod just because of who they are? If it's a tie, you know, in the room between North Carolina and one of the teams that was first team out, do they get, because, you know, is part of it that they're going to bring more fans, and that's, you know, something that's taken into consideration?
I mean, there's definitely a case to be made that is what's happening at times, and I'm sure a lot of people on social media are saying that as well. Just because you look at the breakdown, you know, I don't know if they get in with their record, you know, with them being 1-12 versus quad teams, but them not being North Carolina, I don't know if they get in. So that's you know. Maybe they do still, you know, bring the eyeballs. Maybe they do still have the ratings, and maybe that is a factor. That is. I don't know. I mean, and also, you know, the athletic director, you know, he is on the selection committee. I'm sure that doesn't hurt either. But yeah, no, it's going to be a great tournament. But that was definitely one that was a little bit of an eye opener for me.
Now, for conferences, the SEC getting 14 of their 16 teams in. Clearly, the SEC was the strongest conference this year. So is that a surprise, or just the number of teams from one conference any bit of a surprise to you?
Well, I have to go back and look. I don't know if anything like that has happened before. And I don't know if you know those stats, but they kept repeating it. I was like, has that ever happened? That many teams, you know, for one conference? I'm not sure, but you know, it's no secret that the SEC is a very strong conference. You know, 14 teams strong. I don't know about that strong, but they are definitely a strong conference. But I don't know. If that's happened before, then you know, I guess you can't really say anything. But I don't ever remember that ever happening.
Who would be the most notable omissions? Or, again, this is the part of the annual debate for college basketball fans when the brackets are announced on Selection Sunday, and, you know, the fan bases of teams that think they should have been in. But from your eyes, when you look at the brackets, who are the most notable of the team or teams that probably could have or should have been in?
Probably Ohio State, West Virginia, as I mentioned earlier. So they were all right there. And they had more quad wins than North Carolina. So I think they both had 6. I want to say off the top of my head. But yeah, I would say those two. Those two definitely.
Do you give any if you were actually going to go to download one of those apps and make a wager as to any of these Cinderellas? There's a couple, obviously, every year. That's part of the fun of the tournament, too. High Point and Drake and VCU and a couple of teams like that are in. They won conference tournaments however they got in, they're in. Any of those Cinderella teams that you're looking at that might be flying under the radar and are actually better than people think they are?
Those Cinderella teams, they're so tough because nobody expects them to beat the Giants, and that's what makes March Madness, so fun when you see those Giants just get cut down and these Cinderella teams and nobody, thought. And you don't really know. Like, I don't know how people that fill out brackets even are able to pick some of these Cinderella teams, because I sure can't, because you don't see it even being a possibility. But that's the fun part, I wouldn't be able to predict, but that is definitely the fun part of watching.
It is, and then also a lot of these teams have had, unlike some of the power teams that every year now, because of the portal and NIL, and every year it's a different roster. A lot of these Cinderella teams, some of the smaller conference teams, are teams that have a lot of older guys that stayed around for the whole 4 years. So there's a lot of juniors and seniors and upperclassmen on some of these other smaller school teams that I think gives them a little bit of an edge.
Oh, no, definitely. You see different, and speaking of that, and we're going to talk about this a little bit today later on a show, me and Devo. But it was hard watching St. John's and seeing Kadari do so well. And I'm like, oh, he was here. It was, we're going to talk about it more later on today. But he had almost a triple-double, one game, and he's leading the team, and he's leading the offense, just being that general on the floor and controlling the pace. And I'm like, oh, he could have been doing that for us. Would he have been? So that was a little bit tough for me to watch, because I watched the Big East. And another thing is and I'm going to always say this, so people that listen to me talk are just going to always hear me repeat this, that I really miss us being in the Big East. Especially the Big East tournament, being down there in the Garden. It's such a special place, so many special memories throughout the year with Syracuse. It still doesn't feel right for us not to be a part of that.
I couldn't agree more. It hurts me. It hurts my heart. It hurts my heart.
All right, so it's not just me.
No, it's not just you.
I was going to ask you that, just being a Big East guy from when SU was in the Big East, to see Big East teams playing so well, and getting into the tournament, and the ACC struggling this year for the most part. Duke obviously is strong, and now North Carolina's in there, et cetera. But the fact that the Big East and UConn has won the last two in a row, that just stings. It makes it sting a little worse.
Yeah, it definitely does. I think the Big East might have gotten like maybe 5 teams in the tournament. I'm not always sure, but just watch that Big East tournament. It's such a special place, and that's where it's all supposed to come down to. Just as far as historically, and I have so many great memories playing in the Big East, and they were showing the different memories. So they showed Devo's, that 6 overtime game, like when they played, and it's just great memories. I even saw somebody post when we beat St. John's, and Ryan Blackwell hit the last second shot, with the buzzer, and everybody, piled in the middle of the floor, and it was just, those kind of memories. We're supposed to be in the Big East tournament. That's my position. I'm standing on that.
I agree with you. And, I watched on MSG one night, it was like a documentary, and I'm just paraphrasing, but top 10 moments in Madison Square Garden. And it was New York Knicks stuff. There was fights, etc. But at least I think 2 of them. One was Jerry McNamara's run, when they won the tournament that year, and another was that 6 overtime game. So a lot of people are in your boat, and they agree with you there, Etan.
Yeah. But with the new alignments, and they're still doing new alignments even more, and there's going to be more teams, joining. They want to make like a few power conferences that has, 30 teams in them. I know I'm complaining here, but I just
Yeah. It just doesn't make sense, right? The old way, I hate to be like, the old way was better, but it made sense. It was regional. You understood, you could drive to the place and support your team. And it just, I don't know.
Yeah, just watching California play Stanford and in the ACC tournament, it just didn't feel right. Like
Yes.
even when like you said, it was regional before. Now they're flying all over the country. It just doesn't make sense.
I remember too. Again, in that era, being at the Carrier Dome, and I happened to be going in the press entrance, and it was St. John's coming in, and Walter Berry walking in, and Coach Carnesecca, and just guys from that era. They stayed so long, you learn to maybe respect these guys, but you still hated them. But when they walked in, all these guys, they were stars.
Right. Definitely. No, definitely. That's how it was. But yeah, I mean, we're over here reminiscing about the good old days.
Yeah. Maybe it'll turn around.
No,
Maybe it'll go back.
No, it won't. It's
Maybe someday. When we're all dead.
If they can figure a way to make money at it, it'll come back. But it ain't coming back because they're making more money with it this way. Nonetheless, hey, so what time are you and Eric on today?
So we'll be on 11 a.m. today, talking about all of this, talking about the NCAA tournament. So we're going to be talking about a lot about North Carolina and the teams that didn't come in, and a little bit more about watching Kadari and what he could have done at Syracuse. We have a lot to talk about.
Etan, thank you so much, and safe travels when you head to the volleyball tournaments there. Good luck to your daughter's team, and then we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks. Thanks again for having me.
All right, thanks, Etan. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.